I am in love with this book. And I want to share with you why. And I hope, it's my greatest hope that more than anything, that you will also fall in love with this book. More than anything else I could have taught you, or I might teach you still before the year is over. So I love this book, and I want you to know why. I love this book because this book has been a comfort in hurt and a light in darkness. This book has been a compass when I needed direction and a plumb line when I didn't know which way was up. This book has been a map for my wandering mind, a guide to my lost heart, a beacon to the storms of my own sin, and a welcoming embrace when I find my way back to it. I love this book. I love this book because it whispers comfort, it speaks truth, and it shouts rebuke to my sin-deafened soul. This book is as hard as a diamond when I resist it, and as gentle as a child when I embrace it. This book will lead by the hand when I follow, and drive like a gale when I resist. This book has been my center and my starting, and yet it is still my goal and my hopeful end. I love this book. I love this book. This book has both dried my tears and brought me to them. This book brings me conviction and sets me free. This book gets my eyes off of myself and shows me the truest view of my innermost being. This book shows me that I am a sinner and a son, guilty but graced, marred but shown mercy, poor but rich, filthy but washed clean, dead but made alive. I love this book. I love this book because it's a book of history, but it contains the future. This book is supernatural, but it explains the material universe. This book tells the extraordinary history of God working through very ordinary people. This book conveys the miraculous in the midst of the mundane. I love this book. I love this book. This book chronicles a distant land and an ancient past, but it helps me understand the here and now. This book shows the working of the invisible behind everything I can see. This book stirs the imagination by proclaiming absolute truth. This book, once truly opened, cannot be closed. Once it has spoken, it keeps on speaking. I love this book. I love this book because it's one book, but it's also 66. It has one author, but it also has 40. This book's author is the only being in the universe who knows everything and cannot tell a lie. This book was penned by kings, prophets, shepherds, fishermen, priests, tax collectors, and orators. I love this book. I love this book. This book has one message, but 1,000 themes. This book has hundreds of characters, but only one hero. This book was declared before time had meaning, but it was written down over the span of 1,500 years. This book has been quoted by more other speakers and authors than any other work in the history of literature. I love this book. I love this book. This book has more ancient manuscripts to back it up than any other work of antiquity. This book makes mockery of its mockers again and again when the truth becomes known. This book has more archaeological, biological, physical, and historical support than any other testimony of the ancient world. This book is the treasure waiting at the end of every quest for knowledge. I love this book. I love this book, and it gave courage to Constantine. This book gave knowledge to Luther. This book inspired Columbus. This book was the conclusion that Einstein resisted his whole career, but to which his great intellect had to eventually kneel. I love this book. I love this book. This book employed thousands of people in its copying and tens of thousands in its preaching during the height of illiteracy and our darkest ages. This book is the reason why adventures have been undertaken, why armies have marched and navies have sailed. This book gave science its foundation and history its context. This book is why printing presses were invented. I love this book. I love this book. This book divides empires and families. This book has brought war and conflict. This book has caused massive bloodshed, but this book is the only hope for peace. I love this book. This book is always a bestseller, so every list has to ignore it. Otherwise, it'd be number one every week. This book's instruction was the reason for the formation of Oxford, Cambridge, University of Edinburgh, University of Paris, Harvard, Yale, and Princeton. This book was the only textbook in America for its first 150 years. And modern education ignores it at its peril. This book is the most exact history, the most inspiring prose, the most haunting poetry, and the most compelling narrative the world has ever known. I love this book. I love this book. This book exalts the humble and abases the proud. This book educates the foolish and shows the wise their folly. This book liberates the captive and convicts the self-righteous. This book crowns the servant of all and strips kings of their kingdoms. I love this book. I love this book. This book was 25% prophecy at the time of its writing, and to date, 2,500 prophecies have come to pass. No other religious document can make even a shadow of that claim. This book will be shared, sold, given, smuggled, translated, shipped, haunted, protected, defended, published, and circulated until every soul on earth can read it. And that task is nearly complete. This book is unlike any other because its author is God. Its subject is God, and its publisher and distributor are God, and he will never let it go out of print. This book has been translated into more languages than any other. In fact, this book is the reason why dozens of languages can even be written down or read. I love this book. I love this book. This book is the ultimate rule of any just nation's laws. This book is the norm for any great culture. This book is the foundational truth of any great school, and this book is the unchanging reference for any theology. I love this book. I love this book. This book has the ultimate origin story. This book has the words of life. This book has the light of the world. This book has the bread that has come down from heaven. This book has the judgment that is to come. This book alone will remain when all else has ceased to exist. This book is all from the present age that will survive into the next. I love this book, and I hope that you love it too.